Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
Today we're going to be taking a look at someone who's really out there, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk when it comes to coding.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this so fascinating. We get to go beyond the resume bullet points.
Lorenzo Vanigli, our deep dive subject today, is someone who's actually out there building things, contributing to major projects.
Even competing on a global level, which is always impressive to see.
Exactly. So the question is, what can we learn from someone who's actively coding, contributing, and really making a mark in the world of tech?
Well, and I think a good starting point is always, where do they put their energy? What projects have they chosen to spend their time on?
And when you look at Lorenzo's work, one of the first things that jumps out is this app he created called Food Expiration Dates.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Practical.
Right. I mean, who hasn't stared into the back of their fridge wondering, is this still good?
Every single day, right.
But Lorenzo actually did something about it. And not just a quick fix. This app has been downloaded over 1,000 times.
Seriously.
What?
That many people.
Across more than 100 countries. And get this, it's been translated into 13 languages. That's not just some hobby project.
That's impacting lives.
It really highlights, I think, the power of open source. We hear that term a lot, but Lorenzo's app really embodies it.
How so?
Well, he didn't just build something for himself. He made it freely available for anyone to use, to benefit from, and even to contribute to.
Which is really at the heart of the open source movement, right? That spirit of collaboration, sharing knowledge.
And that level of engagement, combined with the app's global reach, I think it speaks volumes about his ability to identify a need and then actually create a solution that resonates with people.
It's one thing to have a great idea. It's another to execute on it in a way that connects with a global audience.
Exactly. And his drive to build doesn't stop there. He also created this other app called Nice Places, which is interesting because it encourages users to explore historical and cultural spots around them.
Oh, sort of like a digital guide to uncovering hidden gems.
Yeah, kind of. Almost like a local adventure app. And what I find interesting about Nice Places is that it seems to have been developed earlier in his career, looking at his CV.
So it suggests a consistent dedication to actually building things.
Right. It's not just a recent thing for him. It's not like he just started coding yesterday.
It demonstrates a long-standing habit of project building, which in any field, but especially in tech, is incredibly valuable.
So we've got passion projects that have real-world impact. That alone goes beyond the standard CV. But this is where it gets really interesting when you start looking at the details of his CV.
Okay, this is what separates the impressive from this person is operating on a different level.
Right, because for starters, Lorenzo qualified for the Meta Hacker Cup 3 years in a row.
Oh, wow. That's not just any coding competition. That's intense.
Exactly. It's incredibly competitive. Participants have to solve these really complex problems under pressure, time pressure. So the fact that he qualified 3 years running, it says a lot about, his problem-solving abilities, being able to think on his feet.
Essential skills in the fast-paced world of software development.
And then you see he contributed to Pandas 1.5.1. Now, I
know Pandas, but for those who might not, what is that exactly?
Right. So Pandas, it's this really powerful tool that's used by data scientists. Think of it as this supercharged spreadsheet that helps you find patterns and insights in tons of data.
Okay, so it's not for your average spreadsheet user. It's more specialized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to contribute to Pandas, you need a deep understanding of the programming language Python, how the tool itself is built, the whole etiquette of contributing to open source projects.
So it's like the difference between using a smartphone and understanding how to actually code an app, for one.
Right. Lorenzo didn't just use this complex tool, he helped make it better for countless other data scientists. And what makes his contribution to Pandas even more interesting is, when you look at his master's thesis.
Oh, what's the connection there?
So his thesis focused on using voice recordings for COVID-19 diagnosis, which, first of all, fascinating topic.
Very timely research, for sure.
Right. But he delved into using deep learning for this. And deep learning, for anyone who's not familiar, it's this whole area of artificial intelligence where computers essentially learn from huge amounts of data.
Image recognition, speech recognition, those kind of things.
Exactly. And to do that kind of analysis, you often use tools like, you guessed it, Pandas.
Ah. So his thesis work might have actually used the very tool he later contributed to. That's a cool connection.
Right. It suggests he's got a whole other level of experience with machine learning. And it makes you wonder if those skills, did they find their way into his app development process as well?
Right, because we often think of these skills as separate, but the more you work in tech, the more you see those connections.
Absolutely. And to top it all off, on his CV, he doesn't just list his website and GitHub profile, he showcases them.
It's like he's saying, don't just take my word for my skills. Come see for yourself.
It's that confidence, right? It shows real pride in his work. He's not hiding anything. He's inviting people to check it out.
And that's key in open source, right? That willingness to share, to collaborate.
100%. And speaking of showcasing skills, there's this other little detail on his CV that caught my eye.
Oh, what's that?
It's not even about coding languages this time.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What is it?
He lists fluency in English, of course, which, important for communication and all. But then he also mentions proficiency in several other languages, like he's got himself at a B2 level in a few.
That's not just casual conversation. That's the ability to actually work with people in those languages.
Exactly. And that, to me, adds a whole other layer to his profile because it suggests someone who's open to diverse perspectives, comfortable in different cultural contexts.
Those are incredibly valuable skills, especially in today's global tech landscape.
Right. Like we talk about coding languages, but being able to bridge those communication gaps, that's huge.
It speaks to a certain kind of adaptability, a willingness to step outside your comfort zone.
Which, when you think about it, really ties back to that whole theme of continuous learning, right? Like learning new languages, it takes dedication.
It does. And it shows a desire to connect with people from different backgrounds, to understand different ways of thinking.
Which, when you're talking about building software that's meant to be used by people all over the world, that kind of empathy is essential.
Absolutely. It's not just about the code itself. It's about understanding the people you're building it for.
Okay, so we've unpacked a lot about Lorenzo, his projects, those competition wins, the contributions, even the language skills. But before we go any further, I think it's important to pause and consider, what does all of this mean for you, the listener?
It's easy to get caught up in the specifics, but the real value here is in the broader takeaways, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So let's switch gears a bit and talk about those bigger lessons we can learn from Lorenzo's experiences. It really is inspiring to see that kind of commitment to growth, He doesn't just rest on his laurels, he's always pushing himself further.
It's like he treats his skills like a garden, right? Not content with just planting the seeds. He's out there nurturing them, helping them thrive.
I love that analogy. And what's so exciting about the tech world is that it's constantly evolving. There's always something new to learn and explore.
Exactly. It's not about just keeping up. It's about that hunger for knowledge, that drive to explore.
Lorenzo's journey really highlights that, right? The pursuit of knowledge, it's not a chore, it's an adventure.
And often, the most rewarding discoveries happen when we're willing to step outside that comfort zone to get a little lost along the way.
Think about his dedication to ongoing project maintenance, for example. He doesn't just build something and walk away.
Right. He sticks with it, refines it, makes sure those projects stay relevant and functional.
Which speaks volumes about, I think, his dedication to delivering real value, because the tech landscape is changing all the time.
So being willing to revisit past work, breathe new life into it, that's crucial. It shows a real understanding of how to meet the evolving needs of users.
And that brings us to our final thought, something we want you to ponder long after this deep dive is over.
Always love a good, thought-provoking question to wrap things up.
Think about your own projects, the skills you've developed, the things you're passionate about. What would it look like to approach them with that same spirit of continuous learning and improvement that Lorenzo embodies? We spend so much time focusing on the end goal, the finished product, that sometimes we forget about the journey. But Lorenzo's story reminds us that it's in those moments of exploration, those steps we take outside our comfort zones, that's where the real growth happens. So embrace the challenge, celebrate those victories along the way, and never, ever stop learning. Who knows what incredible things you might create?